Hello everyone and welcome to the lecture on the DateTime module. The DateTime module has a bunch of classes that allows us to deal with dates and time. In this lecture we'll see several of the classes in the DateTime module and understand how to manipulate time, day, year, month, and so on. As I mentioned, the DateTime module has a few classes, and some of the classes are the date class, the time class. There's another class known as the DateTime class, the time zone info class, and the time delta class. So using all these classes, we are able to work with date and time. For instance, by using this date class, we can work with dates of the month, year, or even day. And by using this time class, we can work with hours, minutes, seconds, and microseconds. We can use that. You can use this time class to find out the hour of the at a particular time, the second at this instance, and so on. And this DateTime class allows us to work with both date and time. And the TZ info class allows us to deal with different time zones, and the time delta class is used for calculating some duration of time. We'll try to look at each of these classes one by one. Okay, so the first thing we need to do while working with date and time is import DateTime module. So the easiest thing to do is to simply import DateTime, and that will import the DateTime module. This is one simple import. Or another thing we can do is, if you know you are going to work with only the date class, you can just import the date class from this module by using the from this module import this class. Example, we can say from the DateTime module. So this is the module, import, for instance, time. If I am only going to work with the time class, I can simply use this import statement from DateTime import time, because that's the only class that I need. Otherwise, you can simply import the entire DateTime module. Let's also import the date class from the DateTime module. So from DateTime import date. Okay. Now that we have imported the modules or classes that we want, the next thing we can do is call different functions in these classes and see some examples. What we'll do next is take this date class and then call different functions that the date class has, and we can create some date objects and try to calculate the day, months, and so on. Okay, so what we'll do next is, so we have our date class, and then we'll declare a date object by calling the today function or method. Okay, so this is one function found in the date class, date.today. And then let's save this in some variable called, let's say, today date or today's date. Okay, so if we run it and then if we check the type of today date, we'll see that it's a DateTime object type, right? DateTime date object type. And now that we have this date object, today date, what we can do is we can call other methods to find out the month, the year, or even the day of this DateTime object, of this date object. So we have seen that the type of this today date object is a DateTime date object, and if we print our today DateTime object, we'll see that today's date will be printed, the month, the year, and the day. Let me show you that. So today is December 4th, 2016, and this today date object has properties like day, year, and month, and we can call those properties to specifically find out the year or the date or even the month. Let's do that. So today date, that's our date object that we can call, for instance, year, and that will print out 2016. Similarly, we can say today date that month, that will be December, and finally we have the day property. So today date that day, and that will print out the 4th. Okay, those are the properties. We can also include them in a print statement. For instance, we can say print today is, then you can say today date that year, today date that month, and today date that day. We can say that. So today is 2016 12/4, and you can add any formatting that you like. If you want to include like a dash in between them, you can do that. Okay, so any formatting that you like is possible. For instance, I just put a dash between the year and the month. The date object that we created earlier, where is it? So this date object that we created can also give you the weekdays as numbers. So the numbering starts with 0. So Monday is assigned 0, and then Tuesday is assigned 1, and so on until we get to Sunday, which is assigned a value of 6. Okay, so this function that we saw, the date that today function, will also allow you to calculate the weekday number. Okay, for that we'll call the weekday method on our today date object. So we have our today date, and then we'll call the weekday method that weekday. Then it prints 6, since today is Sunday. Today is Sunday, December the 4th, so the weekday value is 6. Great. We can also, so far we have seen the date class to find out the date, year, and month. We can also use the DateTime class to find out the hour, minute, and second of the day in addition to what we have seen. So this DateTime module combines both date and time info. So we'll use the DateTime module next to find out the date and time of the current time. Let's do that. So we have already imported. So import DateTime. In this case, you can also import from DateTime, import DateTime if you are sure of what you are going to use. Since we are going to use the DateTime class, I can simply import the DateTime class by using this import from DateTime import statement. Okay, now that we have imported the DateTime class, let's try to find out the date and time of our current time. So we have our DateTime module that there is a function known as now. So we'll call the now function on it. And then save this in a variable called, let's say, today date. Okay. Or you can say today date time, just to be more specific. Now, if we print our today DateTime object, we'll see the date and time information for the current time. So today is December 4th, 2016, and it's 4:15 a.m. So that's the hour, minutes, seconds, and then microseconds. So that's the current time. And if you want to print only the time without the date, you can also do that. But for that, you'll pass this DateTime.now object. So you'll have to pass this entire object into the time class. Let me show you how to do that. So we have our DateTime module, and then into the time class, we'll pass our DateTime.now object, or simply today DateTime object. Okay. This is DateTime. Run it again. So DateTime.time. So it's 4:17:53 and then milliseconds. So you can, that's the object, you can simply print it. Then, so currently it's 4:18, then 9 seconds, and your microseconds, right? And we could have also done like this, print DateTime.time and pass today DateTime object that we created here, and then you get the same result, right? 4:15, so 4:15 and then 51 seconds, which is the same as what we have here, right? So the difference is, if you call the DateTime.now, it will give you the current time, and that time is going to change every time you run your function. So if I run it again, now it's 4:19. If I run it after a couple of minutes, it will be 4:20, 21, and so on. Great. So in this lecture, we briefly looked at the different classes that we have in the DateTime module. We mentioned that we have about 5 different classes, like the date class, the TZ info, time delta, and so on. And we use those classes to deal with date and time. Thank you, everyone.